This is part 2 of the Moodle tutorial adding a new quiz, and it's going to start with the review options settings. We'll just a brief recap, show you what we covered in part 1, which was the general settings like the name, the timing, opening, closing quiz, time limits, the display of questions per page and shuffling, and setting the attempts, and setting the grades for the various attempts, how the grades are calculated. So now we're going to go down to this review options and start with that in the following settings for this tutorial. Under review options, there are several settings here, and first let me point out that there are three boundaries of these review options. The first is immediately after the attempt, and if you read the help on that, you'd see that that's within 2 minutes of taking the test or submitting the questions for once the students is given their answers. Then beyond 2 minutes, but still while the quiz is open, that is this middle column here, later, while the quiz is still open. So that's after the first 2 minutes the student has submitted the question. And then the third column here is after the quiz is closed. So once it's reached its close date, then these are the settings for that. Now within each of those three categories, there are these 6 different settings that you can set. Responses are the actual responses that the student gave when they took the test, which answer they selected or what they wrote down. The answers are the actual which ones are right, which ones are wrong in the case of a multiple choice, those kinds of things. Feedback is the specific feedback that's given for each answer or choice, and that is filled out in the question screen where you actually add questions and edit each question. General feedback is shown to all the students after they've submitted their tests, and that's not an answer dependent feedback, but it's just general feedback, like you might want to say something about the purpose of this test. It was to teach you this and that, something overall about the test. And that's optional whether you want to use that or not, and that is filled out in the question edit pages of Moodle. Scores will show the student what their actual scores are, and then overall feedback is down below in this quiz section. We're going to see that section in a minute, and that will give them feedback based on the grade range that they fit into. So you can click any of these on, any combination of these on that you want to, in these 3 columns, which is immediately after. If they click like this, then they'd see everything, including their scores and everything, just as soon as they submitted their exam. Or you might want to click off some of these for the 2-minute period, and then maybe not even give answers, and then give more information after they've submitted it, and then maybe give all the information once the quiz is closed. They can see everything. Okay, let's scroll down and see the next couple of sections. This security section and the common module settings section are involving more advanced things, so they're going to be put off to a more advanced video. So let's scroll on down to the overall feedback, which was the one I mentioned before. That last setting that was in those 3 columns was for overall feedback. And here you can actually put in your feedback based on a grade boundary, different feedback for different grade boundaries. So the top one is always 100%, the bottom one is always 0%. And you put your boundaries in these grade boundary sections here. So let's say that we want to have a grade of like 95% to 100, and we want to give a comment that was great. Something like that. Okay, and so you can have different feedbacks for different boundaries. So you could have another one that say went from 80% to 95%. Let me point out that you always need the percent sign in these fields. You can't just put 80. You've got to actually put the percent for it to take it, otherwise you'll get an error. And then you put the feedback for what you want in the 80 to 95% range in this feedback area here. You do all the way down to 0 that way, so you've got your different boundaries with your different comments. Your last comment may be stop sleeping in class or something like that. You can add more fields with this, add 3 more feedback fields down here if you need them. Now this finishes your entire basic quiz. We've covered most of the fields for the basics, and so when you're done with this you can click Save and Return to Course, and then you should go back to the course homepage. The quiz, if you scroll down this week, you should actually see the quiz here, and here it is under Quiz for week 1. So if you click on that quiz, then you're going to see there's no questions in it yet. So now you can go to your question bank and begin adding questions to this quiz by clicking on the different questions and scrolling down and then clicking the Add to Quiz button. And that way the questions get added to your quiz. So that's basically how you start a quiz out, and a little bit about adding the questions to it. So thank you very much.